tremendous looking trophy.
Hello and welcome to Platinum Explosion, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me, as always, Ashley Holden.
Hey, Dylan. Yeah, even that. Excited to be here.
You're so excited.
So excited. Back talking PlayStation after all this E3 nonsense.
Yeah. E3 nonsense. By E3 nonsense, you mean because PlayStation wasn't there, so it's nonsense.
Yeah.
You do realize some of those games at E3 would come to PlayStation, right?
Some of them, but...
Doesn't count? Oh, fair enough. In the trophy cabinet this week, a bronze trophy for Cyberpunk's back. Gold trophy for PSVR 2 update, and then we hit a platinum for Hideo Kojima, Blue Box Games, Jeff Keighley, and gamers just generally going at it. We'll get to that in a minute. Firstly, to go over, I'll give my thoughts on that. So that demo, in case people forgot, because it feels like an eternity ago at this point, personally, or it was just E3 week was
a week.
A very long.
It was very long.
Felt like it was never ending. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin was a thing that was announced at the Square Enix conference or whatever they called it. I think it was Square Enix Present.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So that was announced there. Chaos, that's the meme, of course.
That's
chaos.
The word that everybody remembers.
Yeah, chaos everywhere. So the demo that was originally supposed to drop after the show, it took like nearly 2 days for it to be available to play. Anyway, it was finally up. I played it. I wrote a preview, explosionover.com. But here's my rundown of this. I really do not think that this demo, and I may be wrong, but I really just don't feel like this demo represents anywhere near what the full game will look like. Like this demo feels like a proof of concept rather than a demo to me. Does that make sense? Like because it really does feel like the team making this in collaboration with Square Enix, Team Ninja, same people that made Neo. It really does feel like they've just taken a bare bones structure of Neo and like done a sort of rush job to get some Final Fantasy elements in and monsters and whatever. Got some elements of what will be the final version of this game, but it doesn't really feel like something. It feels weird for the mass public to play this. It really does feel like something that they put out and said, "Well, let's see if people like this, and then we'll sort of go, we'll go from there." It's weird because there's some cool stuff in here, but it's also filled with a lot of game systems, like too many systems for a demo that takes like an hour to get to the boss of it. Chaos with a question mark, actually. When you get to that boss fight in a trailer, do you see? It's chaos, but with a question mark. Yeah, there's like so many systems, there's so many tutorials. It is one of the ugliest things I think I've played since the PS2 era. And I know it's a demo, but still, by God, is it fucking... Final Fantasy is a franchise known for,
its prettiness.
It's visually appealing, and fuck, this thing's ugly. It's like, but to boil it down, I guess it's not Souls-like. It's definitely more in line with a Neo or a Sekiro, and of course they're sort of like subgenres of the Souls-like. But you're not collecting. Like a big thing that Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls all have in common, of course, is that what you collect souls of some sort, and if you die, you have to then go back and try and retrieve those souls, or if you die again, they sort of disappear and all this sort of stuff. That's not in here. It does have other stuff that's common of a Soulsborne. There are, so it's got gameplay that's reminiscent of a Soulsborne, of course, where you'll die pretty fast if you're just trying to wail on enemies. This isn't like a hack and slash, obviously. It's got more block parry system. It does have difficulties though. Throw that out straight away. Unlike all these From Software games, when you boot it up, you do have easy, normal, hard. So there's some things. Easy does something that I can't remember. I think it's like I think it lets you block the unblockable attacks or something, as well as like taking less damage or something. So it's like it slightly tweaks the gameplay as well as making you take slightly less damage or something. But yeah, you have a range of weapons you unlock through the demo. You start with like a big broadsword. You can get like a lance and this sort of stuff there. You have a basic attack. You have a heavy attack. You have a block button. You have like a parry button. But then it gets really convoluted when it gets into stuff like, so there's the fireball enemies from the Final Fantasy franchise in here, like the ones that just sort of blow up and eventually explode. They're in nearly every Final Fantasy game. You come across those and they'll cast fireball at you. And if you press the parry button, which is like this sort of magical shield, you can parry the fireball and that lets you keep one cast of fireball that you could then return yourself for free. But what they also don't really explain too well is that if you keep parrying stuff, it like depletes a stamina meter, and then if you run out of stamina meter, you take more damage, and then it's like, how do you get that back up? Well, it's by parrying, but not parrying, but using the block button. I just thought it was a lot and very fast, and the tutorials aren't very good, and it is a demo. I know. But my biggest complaint, the reason I kind of spat it with it, and I didn't end up beating the boss, kept getting it down to like the last quarter of itself, and then I was just like, fuck this, because I've already put like 90 minutes into it at this stage, and I've spent like 40, like, well, actually, no, it would have been longer. It would have been like nearly 2 hours, and I felt like I'd put like 40 minutes into trying to beat this boss. I'm like, it's a fucking demo. I just need to like move on. I'm not spending hours trying to beat this goddamn demo boss. But
there's no platinum.
Yeah,
there's
like,
no trophies.
There's no trophies. This has to end at some point. But the reason I kind of kept getting annoyed is you have two AI teammates that roam around with you that are fucking useless. Like, I don't know what their purpose is. And this is the number one thing. If I was like, if the developers were to ask, what's the number one thing you feel like has to change in this before full release? It wouldn't even be like, make it pretty or like fix the tutorials. It would be make the co-op, the companions you have, like have a purpose, because I don't know what they do. They don't seem to be doing any damage. And if anything, they actually make it harder to play the game. And this was most evident during the boss fight rather than the other enemy encounters, because like there would be like 2-3 enemies, and of course it's like a bigger area, and like people were getting spread out, and it wasn't such a big deal. But when you're fighting chaos at the end of the demo, you have them charge at him as he's charging up to do a special attack. So they'll get knocked straight down right away and like die or whatever and have to wait to revive. I'm like, why would you go? Like, why would you charge into that? And then if they're not doing that, they're like sort of wailing on him in a corner or something. And then you won't be able to tell when he's initiating attack towards you because they're blocking your field of view. So you don't see his attack coming. Yeah, it's really annoying because, of course, and maybe I think it stood out more too because obviously in all the other Souls-like games, Sekiro or Neo or whatever, all these other ones, you're by yourself. And if you have a co-op, if you initiate co-op mode in any of these games and you have someone else, in all the Souls games, they appear as a Souls form. So they're see-through, translucent. So I've never run into this problem where I can't judge a character's attack to either block it or dodge out of the way or parry it or whatever until this. And I was having these two fuckboys just constantly get in my way and be annoying. Oh my God, it was the most annoying. Like the amount of times that I would just get hit out of nowhere because I didn't see that they were like blocking my field of view. It was like really beginning to annoy me. I was like, fuck this shit, man. So yeah, I don't like. I like the idea of this game, and I know we of course discussed on here when it was a rumor and like a thing like, oh, with the idea of like a Souls like Final Fantasy, I'm down. And there's at times playing this where I'm like, yeah, I can see how this could come together because I really don't feel like this is anything more than just a bunch of things thrown together going like, well, what works, what doesn't work. Because it's like you have the job system, which key Final Fantasy component where you can sort of switch out between two jobs on the fly, one button, and that means you're able to have like a warrior class. You're leveling that up, unlocking more sword skills, and then you can have the mage class equipped in the other slot, and you can switch to that to cast spells if you want to, like fire, water, whatever you want, and all that sort of stuff. And you have to level them up separately. It does seem like a game where you could reach a boss, like the boss was the end demo boss. You could probably turn around and go find somewhere. I don't think there was anywhere to farm, though. I don't think the enemies... Oh, no, they do respawn. Sorry, I'm wrong. Every time you rest at a save point, the enemies do respawn. Proper Souls-like. But, yeah, so you could go, like, farm up the mage class thing more and unlock high-level abilities for that and be like, well, this is how maybe this boss will be easy to fight this way and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, well, we shall see. I don't know what next time we'll see or hear about this because it's
hopefully not anytime soon from the sound of it.
No. I do want to follow up quickly. So VG247 wrote, Stranger of Paradise uses Final Fantasy 1 as a motive rather than being directly connected to the game. Speaking in an interview with Weekly Famitsu, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, creative producer Tetsuro Nomura, producer Jin Fujiwara, and director Daisuke Inoue spoke about the game and how it's using original Final Fantasy as a motive. According to Nomura, the game is based on Final Fantasy 1, where at the end of which you learn who the Warriors of Light really are and where they come from. In Stranger of Paradise, Jack and his friends are under the impression that they may be Warriors of Light, yet they have doubts sometimes as to whether or not they are, as the prophecy has foretold. Nomura also states the trio are strangers, which is central to the plot, and the trio has gathered in paradise, which according to Noe means exactly what it says. Quote, Strangers of Paradise means exactly what it says, that these strangers are in the land of paradise. At the same time, it could mean people who shouldn't be in paradise. I think this is a title that represents the story of the game perfectly. I love Square Enix. I love, the bullshit that they... in the game, Jack and his allies are on a mission to defeat chaos, and some folks may recall there were 4 Warriors of Light in the original Final Fantasy. According to Nomura, there will be more characters than just Jack, Jed, and Ash. Oh, I didn't realize you're one of the characters in the game. There. But when it comes to fighting, battles will be limited to 3 party members. As far as more information on the characters and story is concerned, developers are keeping most of the story and gameplay elements close to their chests. Quote, in the full game, there will be even more characters. The game will be a lot broader, and I think the story is quite compelling. I think it will be a bit confusing to see these characters come out of nowhere, completely unlike anything you were expecting. But I hope you'll keep an eye on upcoming information. Yeah, I don't really know. They're like, it's a motive rather than a thing, but also they're being very coy about if it is a continuation, it's a prequel, sequel. I don't know. I don't really. I gave my theory, of course, on Arcade Couch when we talked about it, which is that I just thought it was a sequel to the first game, but I don't know. And based on what happens at the end of the demo, I don't really know at this stage. To be completely honest, let's get into the news, and let's start with talking about Blue Box Games. If you don't know what we're talking about, I'm going to be quite surprised at this stage, since this is just everywhere at this point. But all right, so to sum it up, let's read a little bit from this Bloomberg article written by Jason Schreier. Tens of thousands of people are coordinating online in search of clues surrounding what's either a series of curious coincidences or a conspiracy led by one of the world's most celebrated video game directors. It starts with a PlayStation 5 game called Abandoned. In April, Sony Group Corp unveiled the project from a small Dutch company, Blue Box Game Studios, with scant details. From there, an elaborate theory emerged that the game does not exist. It's actually a secret, new project from beloved and eccentric Japanese game maker Hideo Kojima, creator of the Metal Gear series. Followers set up a community on Reddit to examine the mystery. It now has more than 5,000 members. The hype was fed in part by Kojima's mythic record of stunts and gamesmanship. In the past, the video game legend has generated fake companies and hired actors. To some, the various comments and actions of Hassan Karaman, the head of Blue Box, have contained strange discrepancies and seem to fit with Kojima's patterns. In an hour-long interview with Bloomberg, Karaman attempted to demystify several of these assertions underlying the conspiracy. His game has no connection to Kojima. His studio consists of a network of friends, and he is a trained game developer, not an actor, he said. So, to sum up what's happened, and then we'll get to here. So, suspicions about Blue Box started almost immediately after it announced Abandoned in April. but then they went to overdrive last week following a since-deleted Twitter post from the company. The tweet said Abandoned was code name, and the final title would start with an S and end with an L. This stoked speculation that the game would morph into Kojima's long-awaited new Silent Hill game, propelling a 2-month-old Abandoned trailer to more than 1 million views on YouTube. Over the past few days, Reddit sleuths have only hardened their convictions. The original Sony blog post for Abandoned was full of red flags. It promised realistic graphics at 4K resolutions and frame rates of 60 frames per second, benchmarks that would be difficult to hit for most established game studios, let alone a tiny one like Blue Box. Sony didn't respond for requests for comment. As the days went on, fans discovered more oddities. Blue Box claimed to have a team of more than 50 people working for them on the game, yet LinkedIn showed no employees other than Karaman. Blue Box also said the game would be revealed through a PlayStation 5 application designed as an interactive trailer, which has never been done before. The situation grew stranger when Jeff Keighley, a video game personality who interviewed Kojima's fake CEO in 2013 and has helped reveal many of the director's games, hinted on Twitter that he would be involved in unveiling of Abandoned. Keighley, a longtime friend of Kojima, did not respond to a request for comment. So there's a little bit of an interview here, but before we get to that, I just want to get your general vibes of what's been happening, because it basically does boil down to bits and pieces there. People are translating his name. Apparently it translates through Google Translate to Hideo Kojima. Could be a coincidence, could not be a coincidence. Like, everything is the game ends as an it starts with an S, ends with an L. Could be a coincidence, could not be a coincidence. You know, like, there's lots of
yeah, I'm reading through this Reddit thread. There's a few stretches.
There are definitely stretches, and then there's just odd little coincidences, if you want to call it.
It's like Blue Box Games Studios logo is basically PlayStation Studios logo colors inverted. The Blue Box logo is a black box that says Blue Box inside. PlayStation obviously is a black PlayStation logo with a white background.
Mm-hmm. People looked up the font, and apparently it's the same font that Sony uses. This is the other piece of that evidence.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was going to say, the other thing is their Twitter page has just been off the chain. They'll both keep tweeting that stuff like, we want to answer the rumors, like 4 hours ago. We wanted to answer rumors one last time. We're a small indie studio of actual real people working on a passionate game. We want to do a live stream with Q&A in where you can ask all your questions, clarify every confusion and rumors. We just want to set expectations. And then they'll have, I can't find a good example here, but they'll say stuff like this, and then people will be like, can you just say yes or no, is this Silent Hills? And they'll respond cryptically like, you better ask Konami. It's like, just say no. just say no. Please.
It's interesting because obviously we'd talked about this, I feel like a few months ago.
We just talked about it. I watched the trailer and I was like, I don't know why this is on the PlayStation blog. It looks meh. I'm pretty sure that was the summer.
The thing. And after that, we had the developer give an interview pretty much saying that they were upset that they were being claimed that it was obviously a Hideo Kojima project. And I feel like maybe they've just leaned into it, you know? Leaned in as hard as possible to make it feel like there's some sort of connection. Yeah.
So where do you lay on that? So I put out a poll on the Watch Our Show's Twitter account, which you should follow in case you want to make people of all the podcasts, as well as the Explosion Network account. But I said, it's Kojima, it's an indie studio, it's all bullshit. And so far, it's 47% it's Kojima, 21% it's an indie studio, and 32% it's all bullshit. So of those three answers, where do you feel?
I think it's an indie studio. I think, obviously, they claim to have some sort of connection with PlayStation. They could have gotten Kojima involved since the game started, getting the buzz around it that it has got it. It's like, hey, would you like to come on and be a creative consultant or something? It's like, yeah, let's send the internet into crazies for a little while. I don't know.
What you know that what's that thing, the meme, you know, like I don't understand but it compels me. What's the you know, Daniel Craig Knives Out, what's the line? Like, I don't understand it, but it compels me. You know
No, I can't remember.
You know the meme though?
Need
like
to
the line?
rewatch Knives Out.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel this. I don't think that this is someone pretending to be Kojima. I do think that there's something going on here. Does that feel like too tinfoily hatty? Like to say that I don't think it's Kojima, but there's just something. There's something.
Yeah, this could be something going on. It's like, are they playing it up as much as possible to get as much buzz around the game as possible? Or is there more to it and they've got some sort of involvement with either Konami or with Hideo Kojima?
They've definitely got a deal with PlayStation. If they don't, this person's like killed their company because they're basically like, it doesn't even feel like me being mean to them. Like, I don't feel like, because what's going to happen, this has been a big point of discussion, is that when this isn't Silent Hill, they're going to get a lot of hate. They're already getting people, if you look in the replies to their tweets, like there's already people like, if you've played us along this far and this isn't Silent Hills, I'm going to fucking like hate you so much. Like people are being already starting to get really aggressive. So when it does come out on, I think it's now, so it's American Friday, I think, so it's Saturday for us, I think the interactive demo thing, whatever that is supposed to actually come out. So when that comes out and it's not Silent Hill, they're going to cop a lot of slack. And I think no one really deserves that. But at the same time, I feel like if you're playing up a relationship with, like to play up a relationship with Sony, or like, I can't talk about stuff because I've got a deal with Sony. And then if you don't have a deal with Sony, it's like maybe you should be lying about having like deals with big companies, because that feels like that's just bad PR. Bad. Yeah. Like, you know, like bad.
I think they definitely have a deal.
Yeah. Well, so let's read a little bit more of this article here because it does, yeah. So, Shry writes, Blue Box tried to raise just under $12,000 from a Kickstarter campaign in 2015 to make a horror game called Rewind. The crowdfunding project ended with $207 in pledges. They cancelled the Kickstarter, writing Rewind would be fully funded by a private investor, but the game never came out. A different game connected to Blue Box was buggy and poorly received when it debuted last year. Speaking of a Dutch accent, Karaman said so Shry was apparently on the phone, like talking voice to voice. Right now, the Reddit threads will tell you that he's an actor, so of course he can he can take he can do the phone calls, you know. So, said he's been abandoned, has been in development since 2017, although the concept has changed a lot of times. He said the Blue Box team consists of 10 people, and that he had outsourced work to several other studios, which accounted for the 50 figure he mentioned earlier. He said he attracted the attention of Sony in 2015 following the failed Kickstarter. So this is the part where I'm like, you attracted the attention of Sony for a failed horror Kickstarter that made a total of $207. Like, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but also...
Seems a bit unrealistic, but...
Shry continues, but the conversation raised many more questions. Karaman would not make other members of his team available for interviews, and would only identify one who didn't respond to a request for comment. Karaman said that he had signed a contract with Sony, but wouldn't offer specifics. He also said the game was funded by investors, but wouldn't say who. He said, quote, "There is a reason for that, but I can't really talk about it." He then named 2 of the 6 or 7 outsourcing companies that he said Blue Box is working with, Nuari Studio and Decadong Studios. Representatives for both companies declined to comment. In a follow-up message, Harriman said he plans to hold a live stream video soon to answer questions and show the faces of his team, saying, quote, "People need it. Fast." All the attention, Shry continued, all the attention of Harriman's game could turn out to be a curse. The makers of Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky each made outlandish statements about what their game would be capable of and failed to deliver at launch. The hype turned to vitriol when the products were finally released. Karaman said that Banner would be properly revealed within the next month, and he hoped it would put an end to the conspiracy theories, saying, quote, "If people still continue to believe in this rumor, that's up to them." So, yeah.
Well, when you say it with that tone, it sounds bad.
Just read it. Just like, I remember when I read this morning, it was the list of, he wouldn't name them, Sony refused to comment. Jeff Keighley refused to comment. The 2 other studios of 7 he gave us refused to comment. He wouldn't give us any other names bar one that person that worked at the studio. They wouldn't
because
comment.
a lot of these places sign NDAs about the work they're doing.
It's so good. Yeah, look, this is why I'm like, okay, so like if he does have a deal with Sony, which that's where I'm leading. I'm like, there has to be a deal with Sony at this point, or else how the fuck does this game end up on the PS blog 2 months ago with such a random nonsense trailer?
It could be like the most basic of, we're making exclusive like indie game for Sony.
I feel like there has to be a little bit more to this. I'm not saying it has to be like massive, like it's secretly Hideo Kojima.
It's first party. Yeah.
I just feel like there has to be a little bit more to this than simply it's an indie game and Sony's like helping them make it or something like that. Because there's just so many weird things. Like, Sony showed up after we filed Kickstarter at $207. That seems weird. But I feel like you have a Sony deal, and that's why Sony won't comment. Not naming other people that work at the studio, that seems odd. The 2 other outsourced studios, and they refuse to comment. That also seems odd. Jeff Keighley refusing to comment. That's just going to flame the Reddit flames. So yeah, I don't know. It's fun. My ultimate take on this is, fuck, it's fun. Like just having the past week and just being like watching this unfold. It's just one of those fun little internet things. But ultimately, as a lot of people have pointed out, this is either going to end one of 2 ways, and it's most likely going to end in a way where it's not going to end good, where it isn't what people want, and this studio is going to get a lot of shit, And then what happens if it's the way that people actually want? I don't think that's good too, because you've got a lot of people, somewhat prolific, content creators or game makers or whatever, like going out and saying, this is an indie studio, you need to stop, like they said they're not Kojima, you need to, like I feel so bad for them. And then imagine if it did turn out to be Kojima after all that. These motherfuckers would feel so dumb, for trying to, it's just like, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't know. What's your final thoughts on all this?
I think it's time for me to come clean, Dylan.
Okay,
I was actually hired by Hideo Kojima to infiltrate RTX Australia back in 2015.
Why was there?
While I was here, like to promote his upcoming projects, like infiltrate friend groups during that event, and that's why I'm such a big fan of Death Stranding. And we've talked about him so much on this podcast.
Sure.
It's all just been a massive coincidence that we got into the podcasting game. Otherwise, it would have just been like over social media, getting into I'm sorry to reveal that this friendship is entirely based on a lie.
Take that to Reddit. Just start the post with, hello, my name is Ashley Hobley. In 2017, I was hired by Hideo Kojima to infiltrate what would now be known as the Explosion Network Group. At the time, it was known as Pleasure Explosion.
Stop for laughs.
Cue music. Dun, dun, dun. So we shall see. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, in summary, this isn't Hideo Kojima. It's a real person. It's a real person, either way over their head, or it's a real person that has a real deal with Sony, but it's not Kojima. I just don't. Does that feel like roughly like a sane way to?
I think so. Yeah, just the fact that the studio obviously had projects before just goes, yeah, that seems very unlikely unless Kojima secretly bought the studio. Or he's the secret investor.
Put that tinfoil hat back on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So we'll find out later this week when the interactive demo thing, which, again, to reiterate, very weird. That hasn't actually been done before either. Like, no game's got an interactive trailer app made for it. It's very weird for any game, let alone a indie game.
Game. Yeah, so what? Yeah, that implies that there's bigger.
It implies there's something more here. That doesn't mean it has to be Kojima secretly. It implies that maybe there is. Fuck, it could be another franchise. It could be someone else big in the video game industry. You know what I mean? Like, it could be nothing. It could be literally just some dude way over his head. And I'm going to feel bad when this all is over. Because, by God, I don't know how you would get out of...
It's secretly a Miyamoto project.
There you go.
He's like, I needed a way to get out of Nintendo's thumb. Yeah. I secretly wanted to make horror games my entire life. I've been stuck. It's this dumb plumber.
It's a plumber trapped in the woods and you can't escape. Yeah. All right.
The princess is in another cabin.
Imagine. Someone should make that in dreams. Yeah. So quick PSA. Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red announced that the PlayStation 4 version of Cyberpunk 2077 is available for purchase worldwide again on the PlayStation Store. In a press release, they said, in addition to the game being available on PlayStation 4, anyone who purchases the game can also play it on PlayStation 5 via backwards compatibility. Furthermore, a free PlayStation 5 upgrade for the game will be coming in the second half of 2021. We're in the second half. And will be available for all owners of the PlayStation 4 version of Cyberpunk 2077, including digital and disc. The upgrade will allow blah, 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 to a full advantage of the hardware, blah, 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 blah. On social media, they pretty much tweeted out like, hey, the game's up. It's fucked on base PS4. You should play it on PS4 Pro and PS5, but it's fucked still on base PS4. But you can buy it, but it's fucked. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what the tweet said. Every single fuck was included in the original tweet. So this is just funny, but it's out now if you want to spend money on it. According to the quick research I did to see how people felt about playing it in the last couple hours, still a bit of a mess, unsurprisingly. And so have fun with that. You going back or?
Not immediately.
No? Gonna wait for the PS5 version?
Yeah.
Get that upgrade?
Give them a little bit more time to fix everything up.
Yeah, it's alright. It's been nearly a year, but that's fine. Just give them all the...
Why not?
Give them all the time.
Have some faith, Dylan.
I mean, it was only in early access when it released. So I don't know why I was being so hard on them. So.
Yeah, why is everybody being so harsh on it?
Yeah, should be. What last one? Oh dear. VG247 writes, Sony supports and encourages crossplay. Sony has resolved to continue allowing crossplay on PlayStation platform in the months and years to come. In an interview of Axios, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Jim Ryan, has said that Sony wants more cross-platform multiplayer in games going forward and praises the way crossplayers work for the company. Quote, we support and encourage crossplay.
Cool. Move on.
The number will continue to grow, he also said, including with games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Rocket League, Minecraft, and more. As more games make the leap from closed player ecosystems to more connected solutions. This sort of runs contrary to what we've heard from other companies in the past, where it always sounded like Sony has been the reluctant party when it comes to crossplay support. As recently as May 2021, we heard that Borderlands 3 crossplay was being blocked on PlayStation consoles. Gearbox President CEO Randy Pitchford suggested it was Sony blocking crossplay for the game on the grounds of certification. Around the same time, the Epic vs. Apple lawsuit suggested that Epic Games paid Sony for the privilege of bringing crossplay to Fortnite. Jim Ryan refused to clarify what was going on with that specific example, noting that they didn't want to comment on a live business issue with a long-standing partner, and that his policies are consistent across all of the publishers. Basically, this is a non-story, but I just think it's funny every time Jim Ryan does a interview and he's out there trying to retread or recorrect or go over stuff he said in the past, because he can come out. You know, we support and love crossplay, and everyone goes, oh, so all those rumors and stuff we heard, all those talks about PlayStation being the trying to block crossplay, that can't be right, because he just said we support and encourage crossplay. No, they can both be true at the same time. He can say we support and encourage crossplay as long as you pay us for it. Like, it's, yeah. So that's how. I don't feel like there's any lies here. I think PlayStation's quite happy to add crossplay to games.
They're happy with the current situation of crossplay on PlayStation.
They just want to get paid to enable it.
Yeah.
So fair. Good on you, Jimmy.
Nobody cares about crossplay, so.
Thought that's when I posted this news story, and I was like, this will be a line you say at some point. PlayStation 5 owners can sign up for the PS5 system software beta program now. Next major system update coming later this year, packed with features, writes PlayStation Lifestyle. Want to help the PS5's upcoming features? You can sign up to be part of the PS5 system software beta program right now. This is to help prepare for the next major system update that's coming later this year. And Sony wants people to help test these updates before they go live. Sony says the next major update is packed with features, but only says that it's coming later this year. Unfortunately, there's no more specifics at this time. Still, the beta sign-up program must mean that things are at least getting a stage where they can ship it to some users. And reports say the SSD expansion update is coming this summer. What else do you think you'd want at this stage? 6 months in. Is there anything?
No, nothing
from small
immediate.
to big.
Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
I feel like the major thing I can think of that I know everyone still sort of complains about is they just need to have the next system update at a so you can hold down the PlayStation button to put on standby.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. Yes, that would be nice. Being able to alter the button commands for the menu and that kind of stuff.
I feel like that's about it, really. Can't really think of anything.
And then voice control. Let me say PlayStation save clip and it says clip.
Wasn't we supposed? Did I joke about that to the point where I believe that was a thing that was going to happen, or because
I don't know,
because I thought it was a thing that was going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, new update coming soon. I don't really know what I'd want. SSD update would, of course, I feel like that's the big one. That's the big one. So
yeah,
and if it's not included in that, I just don't know why it's taking so long. Come on. And then also from PlayStation Lifestyle, Sony prefers securing deals from new IPs rather than studio acquisitions to keep things fresh, says Herman Holt. So this is following on, discussion we had last week about sort of guessing Sony's plans and what they prefer to do. But now, PlayStation Studios boss Herman Holt said that Sony prefers striking external partnerships for new IPs as opposed to going on studio shopping sprees in order to keep things fresh. Speaking to Eurogamer, Holt said that PlayStation Studios is growing and the team is, quote, always on the lookout for incredible new experiences, end quote, regardless of the genre and size of studio. Sony's primary focus is on seeking talent and empowering developers to create with constraints by offering them the same services and facilities available to its own first-party studios. Quote, if I come across a core group of people that are building a new outfit that have gained incredible experience and matured as creatives, and you take the shackles off, and give them a white sheet of paper, it's just fascinating to see what they're going to do with it. End quote. While Sony has only recently begun announcing a string of external partnerships, the company has been working with these partners behind the scenes for quite some time. That's the case with Deviation Games, at least, who revealed that it had been developing its new AAA PlayStation 5 game for over a year. So, yeah, I mean, that's just all in line with what we discussed last week, but it's just interesting to hear Herman Hulst, of course, sort of say what we was theorizing, and that Sony's plan seems to be it's almost like it's sort of, I was thinking more about it. It's because back in the day, Sony used to pay a bunch of money, or Xbox, of course, they used to pay a bunch of money to get third-party exclusive stuff a lot more than they do these days. You know what I mean? Like, it was either third-party games exclusive for a period of time, third-party games with exclusive DLC, third-party games exclusive marketing deals, like all of this sort of stuff. And you
all
see
the Call of Duty stuff,
you see a lot less of that now. A lot less than you're used to. Because even like if Xbox has something, their whole thing is they have it in their show, they have it in their showcase. They say it's coming to Game Pass, and like figure out Psychonauts 2. That's coming to PlayStation. But do you imagine if you if you think Psychonauts 2, you go Xbox, and that's because of the way Xbox has been marketing it and all this sort of stuff. And of course they own Double Fine now, so that helps. But but still, like there's a few of these third party games that I feel like have done a similar thing, but it's not like they're paying for the marketing stuff. It's just about the way they're going about bringing it to Game Pass and stuff. Sony's plan now seems to be getting these studios fresh. So it's not buying a game that's already in the works. As Herman Hulst says there, and as we was discussing last week, it is finding these studios or these people like Kojima like Deviation Studios, like whoever else that we don't know about, who are about to start a fresh project or want to start a fresh project, giving them the tools and the place to go crazy and do whatever the hell they want without restrictions, it seems. And then it's not they own it, but it seems that it's PlayStation exclusive at least for a time.
Extended period.
Period. Like Death Stranding came to PC, of course. And I really still don't think that even counts as, these days with Sony bringing stuff to PC, I don't even think that counts as a loss in their book or whatever. It's like, then keep it off Xbox, at least for the first year, because that first year is the most important time. Then, yeah, I think that's what their game is, which is interesting because it's neither paying money for... It's actually scarier than waiting for a third-party studio to have been working on something and then scooping in and spending a bunch of money on exclusivity rights, because you're literally doing it this way and the way Holst is talking about it. And if you think about Kojima, think about what they did with Kojima. Here's a bunch of money. Here's access to our game engine owned by Guerrilla. Here's access to mocap studios we own. Here's access to here's people you can talk to and ask questions about whatever. What are you making? Oh, it's a game where you deliver packages, you walk... You know what I mean? It just seems, when you boil it down and what they let him do, it just seems like they so risky, but it panned out, of course. So I don't know. We shall see if it works out for Deviation Studios whenever we find out what the hell that is and whatever the hell else is going on.
I mean, it makes sense because, sometimes studios have a decline. And now, if PlayStation had bought them, then they'd be stuck with them.
That's true.
Especially those last, they closed
couple
3 or 4 studios in the last generation. So it's kind of risk management more than anything else.
Microsoft is buying them. Sony's just killing them. They're going to have 5 studios left. Yeah. Naughty Dog B, Naughty Dog C.
Insomniac.
PSVR for the players.
All right, let's talk a little bit about PlayStation VR. So the next PlayStation VR headset is a little ways off. According to a new Bloomberg report, Sony is planning to launch its next generation VR headset, PSVR 2, sometime over the holiday period next year. The report, which isn't actually about the PSVR specifically, also revealed that the headset will be using OLED panels. This is the same type of panel used in the original PSVR, but more and more manufacturers are moving to LCD instead. While lacking the color accuracy of OLED, LCD panels are cheaper and offer better picture quality at a higher refresh rate, something essential for VR headsets. PSVR owners often complained about smearing artifacts when viewing black or near black screens. Sony did not say when we can expect a new PSVR to go on sale. When it unveiled the headset earlier this year, the platform holder offered an early look at its controllers, but not the headset itself. Although many crucial details are yet to be confirmed, reports suggest that the PSVR 2 will feature a 4K panel and make use of foveated... I don't even know what that means. Foveated rendering, whatever that is. VR headset is also said to support inside-out tracking, which allows to track the controls without external sensors. Here's my because I kept saying that I thought the PSVR headset 2 was going to come out early, or I kept hoping it would come out the first quarter of next year. But I'm gonna say that it could have, and maybe I'm putting this on COVID.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because anything when it comes down to tech parts these days, surely that's COVID, so delays in parts, all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, OLED panels doesn't surprise me. Sony has had a love, I guess, for OLED, ever since the Vita to a degree. They love a good OLED screen, and I love a good OLED screen. But also the complaints about the complaints mentioned there are correct, I guess, but. Well, maybe they'll be better. Maybe they find a way to fix it. It's fine. I don't really know. So, yeah, how would you feel about PSVR 2 Holiday 2022? Does it sound like a thing that you could see yourself taking part in?
It sounds realistic.
Realistic?
Yeah. I guess again it comes down to price point because obviously, what the Oculus Quest will be 2-3 years old at that point.
The Oculus Quest 2 will be next. It'll be like 3-4 when it come out.
Yeah. And there's potential for a Quest 3 to come out before or potentially around the same time. So if it's around the same price, that might be an issue like for VR people, whether they put the money into PSVR or whether they just stick with the Quest ecosystem.
My question is
when
this.
It's a standalone device,
If we're saying that VR2 is Sony's holiday 2022 plan, do you reckon that means that when it comes to like PS5, like big PS5 games, you don't try and release them around that holiday period as well? Do you reckon that affects... You know what I mean? Like you don't want to release like a big like Horizon Zero Dawn or 2 or whatever at the same time. Or...
They don't usually release things around big titles around that time anyway.
No.
The latest they release a first party game, usually I want to say September, October at the very latest. So if you were to release something up PSVR, say November, you'd be pretty safe from all the other usual big Sony IPs dropping a bit earlier. I guess the question would be what's going to be the flagship PSVR title to let launch with it. Is it just going to be another another Astrobot, another Playroom?
If it's a proper Astrobot sequel and not like a free tie-in, then yeah, fuck yeah. You don't think that would be big enough, like an actual rescue mission?
Oh yeah,
2?
that would be big. That would be reasonably big enough. I think they'd probably want to have a 1-2 punch though. Yeah.
I'm sure they've got people working on stuff, and I do think the reason we've seen the controllers, even though the console is supposedly over a year away, is that I think that they sent the headsets out, or I think they sent the dev units out with the controllers and stuff, and. Like, obviously, the dev headset isn't going to look anything like the retail unit, but the controllers probably look something like how they would. Plus, if any of that stuff leaked, it would have been revealing, like, yeah, it can track them, sensors on the headset. Like, I think they were just getting ahead of potential leaks, especially if they put a bunch through to get manufactured or whatever the center devs and stuff like that. So like, and that was from what, 3-4 months ago? I think we talked about the controllers. Like it was was it the start of this year?
I think so.
Or was it the end of last year? It was a while ago. So
it was a while ago. Yeah.
Like if you think about that, so if you think that they're sending that out to third-party developers at that stage, and presume that maybe first-party developers who care about VR or they had on VR already had access to this stuff, and this was them sending them out to third-party developers. That means third-party developers will have it for nearly 2 years before the release of the headset. So that's a lot of time to even make stuff or port stuff, or you know what I mean. Like it's a big time period. So hopefully it has a library.
My guess would be the Blood and Truth follow-up would be the big launch title.
I'll tell you what, if they can have 2 games, and in a perfect world it would be like a Blood and Truth 2 or whatever, plus a Rescue Mission 2.
Yeah.
I think just those 2, plus some third-party port support.
Plus whatever ports you can get over from Oculus or whatever that you couldn't get before.
Yes. Then I think that's a good launch.
A new Beat Saber HD or whatever.
Yeah, it's like as long as Beat Saber's available and all these other ones that you own, maybe there's a patch to make them look prettier, run
or like
better.
a starter pack with all the DLC.
Yeah, but it's like, so picture this now. For a game like Beat Saber, all it needs is either a free update or no, really I hope it is, because it'd be shit if it wasn't, but it's like free
PS5 upgrade.
PS5 update. It adds, so if they're saying the controllers have haptics, Beat Saber haptics, 3D audio, because now it has better 3 audio than the first PSVR headset. So it's just like we've updated the audio. You've got haptics in your controllers now. Of course, it's had to have gone through some port to work with the new controllers and the new headset, of course, and all that. But also, it's just like, here's some free out stuff. Then here's 2 new games. Here's a bunch of other stuff that's been ported over. You can play all of the original PSVR games with backwards compatibility on the headset anyway. To me, that sounds like a good launch. I feel like that's a launch that I would be like, yeah, I'll spend money. I'm fine with that. Would you? Do you reckon if that was a launch today, if you knew that launch was coming this holiday season, would you say yes or no?
What, with Beat Saber?
Updated Beat Saber, Blood and Drift 2, and Astrobot Rescue Mission 2. Plus a bunch of other ports.
What we know about the PSVR.
Yeah, and you can play all your old PSVR games on it as well.
Yes. My old one would be on eBay so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like that's really all it is. It doesn't need because often when we talk about, I guess, normal console launches, it's always like you feel you need 4 or 5 really good games for it to be a good launch. But honestly, I do feel like for VR2, it just needs 2. It just needs 2 good games. Plus supports and
all
updates.
the back catalog needs to be able to be
playable,
updated. Yeah.
Yep.
Because so many of those games, you're like, this would be great if I wasn't using PS Move controllers.
If it didn't run like shit and it wasn't using Move controllers. Yeah. Exactly. It's like when I because obviously I played Vader on Quest, and then I think about playing that with Move controllers, and I'm like, no, because there's just so many little things you could do with the ability to use even a couple fingers and just the better tracking and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out soon, because if they are going to release it in 2022, we could be under 12 months away from a reveal at this point.
Yeah.
They could reveal it.
Countdown.
They could reveal if all these rumors. I didn't really bring it up because it's not really a news story, but you see all these rumors kicking around about a potential PSX coming back this year, or stuff like that, or a digital PSX or something. I mean, if any of that turned out to be true, they could announce PSVR 2 towards the end of the year. And I don't mean show off the whole catalog or anything, but just be it's a thing. Here's what it looks like, I guess. Show a teaser trailer for Rescue Mission 2. That's all I'll need at that point, And then over the next 6 months, you could slowly trickle out more details. Well, drop a price point around E3 next year. Not at E3, because they won't be there, but
no,
around
that's
E3.
If it's even a thing next year.
Yeah. All right. I'll do it for this week's episode. Platinum Explosion. Let us know any comments, questions, concerns you've had about anything we've talked about. Is Blue Box Game Studios a real studio? Is Silent Hills a game? I don't know. You can do that. Either tweet at us, explosionhour.com/Twitter, will take you to all our Twitter, explosionhour.com/Discord, will take you to our Discord. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth $1 and you'd like to support us with monetary values, as little as $1 can buy us a coffee, head on over to explosionhour.com/support us to a link to our coffee page. Buy a t-shirt through there, all sorts of things. Until next week, remember, every trophy counts. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.